band like Aerosmith should be felt as well as seen. And even if you're in an arena, you can feel the heat off the stage.
A little bit of Aerosmith live there for you. And speaking of Aerosmith live, I remember when they played Nassau Coliseum in Jersey, I went. Then they played 3 nights at the Forum in Los Angeles, and I bugged their manager, Keith Gard, every one of those nights and saw Aerosmith every one of those nights. Thanks, Keith. And I was blown away every one of those nights. Aerosmith is amazing. Now check it out. In a few minutes, I'm going to announce the winner of the Headbangers Ball Bang in the New Year with Slayer contest. And I'm real excited about this because I'm going to find out where I'm going to be for New Year's Eve. And if you're the winner, you're going to do it with us. It's going to be very cool. Our Aerosmith tribute show continues. And right now, we're going to find out a little bit about the forming of Aerosmith as they tell us.
I was in a band in 63, 62, you know. And I've come to find out, looking back in retrospect, that all those bands was just a easing on into Aerosmith.
Joe and I used to go and try to see Steven's band at the barn, and we'd have to sort of sit outside and, you know, listen that way because it was always too crowded or we weren't old enough to get in.
I struggled and I practiced and I tried and struggled and practiced so hard that I painted myself right into the corner, rocking the hard place.
A mutual friend of ours introduced me to Tom and Joe, and they were playing at the time. They invited me down to Boston University, where they had a rehearsal hall to practice.
And I come to find out after I went up and saw Joe Perry and Tom Hamilton in New England playing Rattlesnake Shake, that what I was doing all those years was not what it was all about. It was about like letting go and just playing.
You know, obviously from watching that, you can tell Aerosmith is an amazing band electrically, but they're also killer acoustic. And we're going to have the performance of Last Child from MTV's Unplugged on the way. Also watching that video, you know, a lot of bands have been coming out with their decade things, meaning that they've been together for 10 years. Aerosmith has been together 20 years, and their music is just as current as it was when it first came out. And just to prove it, here is Sweet Emotion, which is recently re-released and is doing real, real good. A lot of people, you know, that have never heard the song when it came out are just getting turned on to Aerosmith, which is amazing. Here is Sweet Emotion from Aerosmith. Ragdoll from Aerosmith. I just want to share a personal Aerosmith story with you really quick. I remember one of the highlights of my whole life was backstage at the MTV Music Awards about 2 years ago, and I was walking like backstage by the trailers, and Steven Tyler walked out and he goes, "Hey Ricky, what's going on?" That was it. I mean, to me, that was like one of my highlights of my life. Steven Tyler said, "Hey Ricky." But I think Ricky Rocket was behind me, so I'm not sure if he was saying hi to me or not. Check it out. In a few minutes, I'm going to give you info on how to enter the Headbangers Ball Pandora's Box contest. You're going to get a chance to win one of these Pandora's Box things. We're going to be giving 10 of them away, and they're going to be autographed by Steven, Joe, Brad, Tom, and Joey. Now, right now, the guys in Aerosmith are going to tell us about little hard times they had.
You sit around thinking about what it'd be like to be famous and rich and big time, and then you become it, and you're living in that dream. But then you take drugs and it takes you into another state, which isn't the original state that you wanted to be in. So it rapes you. It rapes you of all that you wanted to be in the first place. It takes your incentive away. It takes your inspiration away. And I come to find out that at the end of my snorting half of Peru, that I was without a spark. I was afraid I was going to die. I didn't want to tie my shoes. I wasn't eating. I was dying. And it was hiding that fact from me. I just said, I give. If I don't have it, I don't have it. Hard. I cried. I thought, God, is that it for me? Is Aerosmith over? Is life over as I know it? And I had to say, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. As soon as I said that, something said, no, it isn't. I have 3 years clean and sober, and I'm real proud of it because I'm a miracle. And And it's just that simple. I think we're the only band in the world that had our knickers ripped down. We were literally caught with our pants down, nothing to say, nothing to do. The inspiration was gone, and we were able to see that with the help of other people and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And we're here again. I ain't saying this can last forever. I could wind up doing, snorting stuff again tomorrow. But I hope not, because it took away something that I love dearly.
Personal suggestion, I think it would be mandatory if they showed all that stuff that Steven Tyler said to all the junior high school kids, because they've got something important to say other than just their music. Right now, let's check out Aerosmith live with Dream On.
Oh, yeah. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. Take away the drugs and there's more time for...
Steven Tyler is just, in my opinion, the epitome of cool. And I think even if you look in Webster's dictionary and you look up the word cool, it says, see Steven Tyler. I remember when Aerosmith got inducted into the Rock Walk of Fame in Los Angeles, I got to be one of the MCs for that event. And that was my first time meeting Aerosmith. And I was real nervous because when I was growing up, it was like Toys in the Attic was just played constantly in my room. Just real excited, and I got to meet the guys in Aerosmith. My palms were all sweaty, and I was all nervous. Real nice guys. Aerosmith, definitely one of the most influential rock and roll bands of our time. And not just a band like playing music from the past. Their music's still current, and we're going to be playing a video from Aerosmith right now. This is Let the Music Do the Talking. Now, even though When Done With Mirrors was released in '85, it was the first return of the original Aerosmith lineup, a lot of people didn't think Aerosmith really made a comeback until the release of Permanent Vacation due to the success of that album. And now let's listen to the guys tell you their point of view of the Aerosmith comeback.
Done With Mirrors. Somebody had this great idea. Let's print everything on the record backwards. Here it is, our first album since getting back together, the album that we're counting on to reestablish us as being back. We've put the band back together.
We've always taken the chance and said, why not? Let's just do it. Sometimes you get caught up in it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Here's a good example. Radio stations took one look at it, and they couldn't read it. They went, and this is Aerosmith. A new song from their album. The new song from their album, Dream On. And that's what they did. They really did that.
Rick Rubin just called up and said, they're going to cover your song. You want to come and sit in on it. So we did the video, and then it turns out to be this big thing, especially in Europe. It was huge, and it's like, well, this is a great move, all that stuff, and all. It was just like a lark, it was fun, and we did it.
Within this record, I think is probably some of the best songwriting and some of the best playing. Most of all, the band was finally put on a record the way the band sounds.
You're my angel. Come and save me tonight. You're my angel. Come and make it alright. Come and save me tonight.
This is where our heads were at the time. We were finally getting some organized scatteredness together.
Ragdoll, never won't you do me, never won't you do me, never won't you do me like something below.
I didn't imagine coming back and being bigger than we were in the 70s.
I always believed
because I know how strong. I know only too well what the contents of this band is, you know, and the contents of Aerosmith is so much more than just a band. You know, it's a way of life.
One of the cool things about Aerosmith, I think even when you hear the older stuff, it sounds current, like it could be released today and it would be brand new stuff. Right now, we're going to take a look at a video from Aerosmith. They brought the cameras into the studio when they were recording the Pump album, and this is off that album. This is What It Takes from Aerosmith. To be or not to be? Not to be. Anyways, I just had to do that, get a little aggressions out, and I feel much better now. I feel so much better that I'd like to tell you a little bit about Aerosmith. You know, we've all heard the classic Aerosmith songs, and we know what they sound like when they're all done and everything like that. But let's take a look at what it was like during the recording and the makings in the early stages of the Aerosmith classic Love in an Elevator.
We knew out of the box were real hot. Like Love in an Elevator, you know, after Joe threw that lick at me, and I sang, Love in an Elevator! And I just knew that that was a good thing, the chord changes and all.
When I played the lick, Steven had the vocal, like, I mean, the whoa-yeahs, all that stuff, like, came out that afternoon, and it was like, bang.